Hello, thank you for listening to Games by Design. I'm Nick, and I am joined today by Noah and Zach.
Hey.
And we will be watching and discussing Toem, Toem, which is a 2021 photography game made by the studio Something We Made. Oh. Beautiful. Alrighty.
It's a menu.
Yeah, it's a menu. It is a menu.
It's so cute.
This game is adorable. I have two. I have two questions. Let me pull them up for discussion while we watch this lovely footage of this adorable little game that is captured in slightly odd aspect ratio. Sorry about that. My camera was weird. I think it should still
I
be
see what you're
preserved.
saying. It's cute, though.
It's just oddly cropped. You'll still be able to tell what's going on. So this is a goofy little adventure photography game. And what I wanted to discuss with you gentlemen while we're watching this is how much room for creativity and self-expression do you like in a game, and how much is too much? And then
that was pretty funny timing right there.
Yeah, I feel like that's relevant.
That's enough. That's perfect. That's how much self-expression.
I mean, can I do that? Because if I can't do that,
Thanks
then...
for listening, everybody.
This has been Games by Design. Well, that's my first question. And then the second one is do you ever feel that customization gets in the way of a compelling game experience? So have at it, gentlemen.
So the first one was...
How much room for creativity do you like in a game? And how much is too much?
I think it depends on the game, for me. Like, I think Toem looks like it's a game that is entirely based on having a certain amount of creativity. I mean, I don't exactly know what you do, but I think you take pictures, and it's kind of like
let me give you the quick gist of what's going on here so you know what's going on. There's just a bunch of... You're trying to move on from town to town to collect stamps, as this little monkey's telling us right now. The way you get stamps is by completing missions for people. The missions always involve photography. So that's just it. But I would tell you that the moment this game came alive to me was when I realized I could name my photographs. There is literally no reason to name your photographs in this game, but that is where all of my fun came from. I kid you not. You'll see. I name every single one, and I've got dozens. So. But yeah, that's just kind of how the game goes. Once you get a certain number of stamps, you move on to the next town, and you meet new people and take new pictures. And so this one's like a little fishing town.
To try this one out.
Oh, it is an utter delight. It's so cute. It's so fun.
Yeah, it is cute. I was watching Elise, my wife, play this, and it looked like fun. It looks like something she would play, too.
It does. It reminds me of what's that? Alba.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just in the nature of the game. I feel like that really is like where... I mean, fundamentally, that's just what this game is. Like, it's about taking pictures, so it would make sense that, like, I don't know. I would feel bad. Like, if I was playing this game, I would feel bad if I took, like, a bunch of poorly framed, blurry photos of things. Like, there's certain games I feel like I can get away with that in, like, Breath of the Wild. In, like, Tears of the Kingdom, you have, like, the compendium thing, and you take pictures, you add it to your index and stuff. But I feel like in that one, I would just be like, oh, whatever, just take pictures, fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like in this game... That's like the point. I would feel like almost guilty if I didn't frame things well.
Yeah.
And use all of my limited photography knowledge.
Yeah.
I usually completely ignore the photography option in games. You know, like this is not one where you can do that, but I usually completely ignore it. But this one looks like I'd actually enjoy it, especially, I don't know, putting names on it actually is a lot of fun.
I just feel like it makes everything more exciting. I think also having like this cute little album to like thumb through also just makes a huge difference. Having like an interesting interface for that. Because I'm gonna be honest, like the Breath of the Wild one where it's kind of just I don't know, it's a very minimalist menu. Kind of feels like I'm looking through my smartphone reel more than it looks like. I don't know. This is so tactile, and I like it.
It is actually like really fun to watch you name these things.
There's plenty of it.
It's not just data, and I think like that's why like I don't even like games like Beyond Good and Evil, like which I love. I love Beyond Good and Evil, and like photography was a huge part of that game, and it wasn't just like a side thing like in Breath of the Wild. It was like that's how you like made money and did all sorts of stuff. But even in that one, like it's just so long as the object was in focus, then like you were good. Like that's all you had to do is just like is the creature in focus? Okay, you're good. That's all it is. But I don't know. In this one, it feels like you're like almost like you have to like you're telling a story, especially because you can name them.
Yeah.
I feel like that makes it just infinitely more fun.
These filters are fun too.
Yeah.
Fish Islands.
Yeah. I
You know,
just unlocked that here. So.
I think about I don't know. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about this recently. I was talking about how a lot of games that have creative options, I just ignore the creative stuff, even though like I kind of wish that I was doing it. You know, like I was like, oh, that would make it more fun if I was doing it, but like I don't because it's not. I don't know, optimal.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, I think, strike that balance exactly between, like making it mechanical, but also making it fun to make something aesthetic. I think that I can only think of like one game that I didn't have that problem in actually. And that was like The Sims, specifically like The Sims 3 was the one I played a lot and really enjoyed. Like I really wanted to make my house look good and I wanted to make my Sims look good. And I don't feel that way in most other games. And I'm trying to figure out why it is. I think maybe part of it is it's like, I don't know, it's my house. I want my house to look nice. I look at it all the time, Yeah.
I wonder that too. Oh, sorry. No, if you had more you want to say.
No, it's just also that, that I'm looking at the people all the time and I like, it's your family. Like, so it's different than like something grander or more impersonal. It's very personal and very zoomed in. So, sorry, go ahead now.
No, I was just going to say that I'm really curious what you're going to name this guy. Okay.
Yeah, no.
That face. So I have a love-hate relationship with Civilization 6. And I was thinking about XCOM actually as I was playing it because in the Civ games like you can name your units and even like your cities and stuff
I
like
forget
that.
that
Like,
frequently.
I forget that too. Yeah, and I never do it. And it often tells me too. It's like you can promote, change the name. Do you want to change the name of your city? I'm like, no. Don't. I feel like that's just kind of like fundamentally, like if it was a different game, like if this was, I don't know, like that's huge when I load up something like Animal Crossing. When I load up Animal Crossing, I spend like 10 to 20 minutes sitting there going, what am I gonna name my island? I gotta name because I'm gonna be stuck with this thing.
Yeah.
And so I just like, and so it like matters so much more. Whereas, in a game like Civ, I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'm China, whatever, is Beijing. Let's just keep rolling. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter so much.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's just like kind of like fundamentally what the game's about that influences that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, is that a horse?
I think it's a hippo.
Yeah. So my character just got a challenge from the Photo Challenger Guild where he gave him like a list of things to get pictures of, and it was like sand, a hippo, and ice cream, I think, or a shy hippo and ice cream. So.
Oh, that's really funny. I do like the option for creativity. It just for some reason I sometimes don't. Sometimes it depends on. I don't know. Like sometimes I just don't engage with it at all. Sometimes. Oh, that's interesting. This billboarding effect with the characters makes sure that they're always facing you, so that if you want to take a picture, you always have them in the shot. That makes sense. That's clever. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't engage with it. And Civilization's a good example. Sometimes also like the city builder type thing, City Skylines or SimCity or something like that.
Yeah.
It's. Oh, I see you at the tripod.
Yeah. Tripod. You can set it up.
Yeah. Like, I kind of want to name everything, but also I don't, Yeah. I kind of want to make everything beautiful, but I also don't. Spore is another example from...
Oh, yeah.
from before, you know, when I was a kid. Like, you can make the buildings on like every planet you make, you know, like you can design that, but like
design every single one. I think that a lot of the time too, like if you're not interacting with it, like does it really matter? Like, cause Spore, you're not like down on the ground looking at the planets or at the buildings. You're just like flying over at least at that stage of the game.
yeah.
But like, I don't know, the fact that like I open my album every few minutes to show people pictures in this game meant that I want to have fun things in it, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's like how much time are you actually spending with it kind of a thing, you know? It's almost like our conversation we had on our Deus Ex episode where we were talking about how, you know, like the systems and stuff are interesting, but if they're not relevant to what the player's doing, it doesn't really tend to matter as much.
Yeah.
It's just blocking you.
You can't get through the birds.
I was like, oh, they'll fly away because they're birds, but nah, this is the bird mafia right here. That's funny.
Now, I don't know if you can tell right now, Britt, there's like the sound, if you have the sound on especially, they keep being these bubbles, and I would hear this big rushing noise, and it would go, and then I'd look over just in time to see something disappear into the water. And so I spent like far too long trying to get a picture of this dang thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's a good point. Like, you know, is it something you spend a lot of time with? Like, is it, you know, is it like a kid? You know, because like in The Sims, like I always name my kids. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also in Crusader Kings, I don't always name my kids.
Yeah, I'll just do random and it's fine.
Yeah. And then I forget who they are and I don't remember their names. But I kind of wish I did. Wait, shouldn't that be the ice cream?
Much fun just naming things.
Yes,
for
this
this
should have been the
video.
ice cream picture. That should have been fine.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like kind of like I feel like that's like the answer to like the question, how much room for creativity and self-expression is like. I always appreciate it. I always appreciate if there is room for creativity. Like I'm never like, oh man, I can name this. Oh, it sucks. Like I never like dislike it. But I feel unless it is like essential or at least frequently important in the game, I'm just really not likely to interact with it.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
So follow up then, what types of customization do you guys enjoy? Like, what? Well, maybe that's not the best question. But like, I feel like there's like, you can customize the game experience, you can customize your character, you can customize the aesthetics of things. Like, what are some examples of games where you really enjoy customization, and where you feel like it contributes to the game experience?
I got one off rip. I'm ready. I'm raring and ready to go. Mordhau.
Oh, heck yeah.
I love that game. I love Mordhau, and it has one of my favorite, not only just customization, but progression and customization features. I love that the progression in that game is customization based. So as you level up, I mean, like, this is not, you know, new. Lots of games do it where you level up.
Yeah, but I feel like it really commits.
But yeah, Mordhau commits, and it does it really well in a way that is not just aesthetic. Almost everything you get, I mean, not almost everything, but so much of what you get in that game is just like more things that you can tack onto your build that makes it more unique.
Yeah.
And so it's so much fun when you finally get to unlock the Zweihander, or you finally get to unlock the Morning Star, or you get this instrument or whatever. And it's like, and I feel like that game is a really great example of like that is my favorite kind of customization.
Yes.
It's like not like inane customization. It means something because it
Yeah.
changes the game. But it's also visual, and it makes it, and it's like I'm making a character, and I think that is one of my favorite instances of customization.
I completely agree. I adore that game, and the fact that like its class system is entirely modular, and that you can change every like when you make a class, you're like, oh yeah, this is. I've got this weapon and this weapon and this armor and this armor and this ability and this ability, and like it's so like at the beginning, it's got a bunch of presets because you don't know what any of those things do. But as you play, you're like, I really like the throwing axe as a secondary weapon for this class. So I'm just gonna make my own version of that class that has a throwing axe instead. Like, it's so fun.
Super fun.
Makes everybody on the battlefield
Interesting.
feel super unique too.
That's so interesting. And so there's like an aesthetic quality to it too. I haven't really played Mordhau a lot.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
just a quick breakdown of it, the way you customize your characters is you've got like money to spend that you earn from doing battles and stuff like that, and you can buy helmets and shoulder, different pieces of armor, chest plates and arm guards and swords, and you've got like 3 weapon slots that you could fill up with 3 different weapons, or you could have no weapons and just a guitar if you wanted to. Literally, like it will let you make a totally broken build. You can't make it overpowered because it has like kind of limits on like different things cost different points amounts, kind of like Crusader Kings when you're designing your character. But
Yeah.
you can make a totally broken build and the game will not stop you if you think it'd be fine, or if you have a strategy around it. Like I had a one guy that didn't have a single melee weapon. All he had were throwing weapons. Because I realized you could just pick up weapons off the ground. So what I'd do is I'd spawn as this guy, and I'd throw all of my javelins, all of my axes, all of my bombs, and then I just grabbed the nearest weapon from a dead comrade and used that to fight the rest of the way. And it was so fun.
That's so interesting. You know, for some reason, I'm reminded of Sea of Thieves, which I really wanted to enjoy more than I did. And I think part of what I did not enjoy was there wasn't much of a progression either aesthetically or mechanically. I granted I didn't play a ton of it. Maybe there's more of an aesthetic progression than I'm remembering. But like, I wish that I could upgrade my ship and make it look nice, you know. But you don't really own a ship. You kind of just like rent a ship every time you go out. You know, I mean, mechanically, granted, I didn't play a ton of it. Maybe I'm talking nonsense, but like that's what I recall. I don't know. I feel like in a pirate game, I want to be able to customize my ship.
Yeah.
You honk at him. That's funny.
I did not like that all the upgrades to your ship in Sea of Thieves were entirely cosmetic.
Yeah.
Oh, so
I thought that was so disappointing.
Yeah.
so you do upgrade it aesthetically, but perhaps
yeah,
not
you
mechanically.
can like buy things that make it look different, but that's it. Like, I mean,
Like figureheads and different sails.
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff.
like they're like you're like you. Yeah.
Nice.
Guitar wizard.
It's great. There, you can get stuff, but like fundamentally, the game is the same when you hop in to play it, beginning and the end. Like you're doing the same things. Whereas like Mordhau is aesthetic and gameplay. And when you add like microtransactions into things, obviously, like you're like, well, if everyone's playing the game and it's free to play, you don't want everything to change the gameplay for the people who are paying money, and so like you get like that whole level of things.
And all that.
But that argument aside, like I think it's really fun to have things that look and feel different, like actually change the way that you play.
Yeah, I agree. And I think going back to your question about like, I think you were asking about like an example of a game that you really liked or whatever. That does this. I think that my favorite one for creativity is still The Sims 3.
Yeah.
Because I just interacted with every creative part of it. Like I wanted to make a nice house. I wanted to make a nice family, you know. And then also, but it's kind of like what you're just saying with the Mordhau thing. Like it does look and feel different too. Like you're making, like when you lay out your house, like you are trying to solve like some logistical problems. Like, okay, I need like at least 2 bathrooms because one just hasn't been cutting it for this family of 6.
Yeah.
There goes your beastie.
I know, I was trying so hard. I realized then I ran over here with it off. I'm like,
But yeah, but like in The Sims, I wanted. It's a mix of mechanical and aesthetic, you know.
yeah.
Because you're, you know, like the toilets do stuff, the sinks do stuff, you know, where you place the garbage cans is important.
Yeah.
You got them.
I did, only barely.
So I guess there's like it has to be a mix of like for the aesthetic thing and then the mechanical thing, but also like if you look at Spore, like the mechanical stuff kind of confounds the creative stuff sometimes, you know? Like, you want to make a cool looking creature, but that particular mouth doesn't sing as good. So
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
you want the hooves, but then you have to get the really weird like alien feet because that has a better like attack foot power than so you just end up putting like weird tiny legs on his back with feet so that you can have the stats.
Yeah, and I do
And
kind of
sort of bloodborne monster.
Yeah, and I do. There's a part of me that likes that, like, the game doesn't always. It likes it when games don't let me do anything I want. Like
Yeah.
I can have everything and do anything. Like, there's this part of me that was frustrated when I was playing Assassin's Creed, and in some ways I love this mechanic and sometimes I hate it, because what you can do in Assassin's Creed is when you like unlock armor in the newer ones, you can. They all have different stats, but every piece of armor that you unlock can also be used as a skin over a different piece of armor. So you unlock your new Greek helmet that looks so cool, but then you unlock another one later that's better but looks derpy. You still wear the derpy helmet, but wear the Greek helmet as a skin. And then I'm like, at that point, why did I even buy the derpy helmet? I don't know. I just, like, I'm like, I can look however I want and have all the stats. Yeah.
It almost feels like the game is cheating for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like, well, I mean, that's not how this works in real life.
Yeah.
that's not fair. Like, there should be trade-offs, you know. And I remember noticing that in the Spider-Man game, where it was like you get these like special abilities based on the suit or whatever,
yeah.
but then it's the same thing. You could just reskin it with another suit on top of it. And that seems, I wonder why that bothers us. Like, I wonder why, because it's like, well, now I can look however I want and have whatever thing I want, but for some reason it bothers us.
I feel like
I think it just feels cheap.
Yeah, like it feels like the game's not a real thing anymore. Like it's breaking like the consistency of the game. Like like objects don't matter. It's everything's a facade. You know, it's just like everything you see is a lie.
It's I think it's one of the reasons that I never ever play games with like the bonus, like you get okay, it's like you buy a game like 3 years after it comes out, and it's like, oh, congratulations, you bought Dying Light 2 Deluxe Edition, here's a free gun. And I'm like, you don't get a gun in this game until like the final chapter, or stuff like that, where it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's fun to have the fun items and it's fun to get this, but it feels sullied. It feels like feels like the game's like giving me some sort of like pity. I'm like, no, I want to earn this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I did that. I realized I started playing Spider-Man 2 recently. At the beginning, it's like, do you want to play with the DLC content or like the bonus unlock pre-order stuff? And it's like, absolutely not. Like, I want to play this game the way it was meant to be played. I think that it's really important to me that a game feels internally consistent with itself. And so, like, you know, objects are objects. You know, things matter. You can't just swap out. Like, I don't know. Like, it was designed a certain way. It was like the game was made intentionally. It makes me sad when it doesn't do that.
I think
You know,
that's another reason why I never like I don't like playing like games with like silly skins. There'll be like a lot of it. Like the new Silent Hill just dropped, the Silent Hill remake for 2. And I don't know if it's a pre-order thing or what, but when you play the game, you can play it as like as the main character is James, and you can, and it's like at the beginning, it's like, do you want to play this game with the pyramid head helmet on or the dog? And it's like, no. Why would I want that? Like, I don't know. It feels like it's like what you're saying. Like, it's like it doesn't feel consistent with like what the game is trying to do. And, I don't know. Customization like that's just not interesting to me.
Yeah.
I guess like it's like Nick was saying, it's kind of a love-hate thing with that particular mechanic where you can reskin things, you know, to suit you creatively, but like, because it's tempting. Like, I want to be able to look however I want and to have whatever benefits I want, you know, mechanically. But I don't know. I feel like I cheated or something. If it's like, I don't know. That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one to solve. because it's so hard not to take advantage of it, you know?
Yeah. But I also feel like even if okay, so Dark Souls is a game where you have a lot of customization options, right? There's oodles and oodles of armor. Like on my high level playthroughs, I've got so many different options. But I also feel like, and they don't make a huge mechanical difference, but they are different. Like they do have different stats, and even if I'm not paying that much attention to the stats, basically I'm just making sure I'm not fat rolling, you know, when I put them on. Like I'll wear whatever, and it's fun to mix and match those clothing items. Please pay attention to what is about to happen.
Did you just honk him into the...
Scare him off.
Yep.
Hydroelectric plant. I love that he said, haha, wee, as he was balancing precariously on a ledge. I was gonna bring up Dark Souls, but I was like, I know Dark Souls is gonna come up at some point because that's like
it always
the
does.
perfect example of that.
Well, like Fashion Souls is like such a, I don't know, for some reason Fashion Souls doesn't bother me in Dark Souls, but in other games where the customization is I don't know, a little weirder and like a layer removed from the game. Like I just want it to feel like it's part of the same game and not a layer on top of the game. I think a lot of the time.
Yeah. The Sims works because it's like these are just clothes. Like there's no mechanical effect to it. So like, but that's weird because like sometimes you want there to be a mechanical effect. Like if it's armor, you know, it's doing something other than just looking away. You know, like clothing is pretty much just looks, and like, you know, clothing can keep you warm and stuff like that, and that's you know, not something that game gets into. But but yeah, with armor, it's different.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Something else about Dark Souls that I think is relevant to that is like, it's cool to be like when you're playing Dark Souls and you get invaded by a random dude and he's wearing a full set of super heavy armor, you know he's gonna play totally different than the guy who shows up in his loincloth and goofy mask. Like there's mechanical, like it communicates things to you versus when you're in Overwatch and the guy's playing, you know, clown Genji instead of glowing green Genji, and you're just like, why, this is just confusing. This guy, you know, it's all exactly the same. So, yeah,
that's an interesting point. That's true. It can communicate mechanics if it's set up that way.
If it commits to it, yeah.
Snowden.
It sounds like that might be actually a good consensus or at least a good way to summarize my feelings towards customization. I like customization so long as it communicates mechanics, like in a game. At least if that's what the customization is for. As long as it, like, it's fine if the customization is like in The Sims for clothes, you know, purely aesthetic. But but I don't want it to pretend not to be, you know, like if it is indicative of some sort of mechanic, or if it is related to some sort of gameplay. Like I want it to clearly show that, as opposed to like not.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Along with the whole like relevancy thing too is another thought that we talked about earlier. Like that's one of the key things I think for me as well, is that like I'm not going to engage with the creative system if I'm not going to be interacting with its results very often, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is. He ended up in the water.
He washed out.
That's great.
This game's cute.
This game is really cute.
I really like this style of this isometric sort of view, but with 2D characters in a 3D world. Which is something we've been talking a lot about lately. But but it's really they do it really well in this. Like this is very clever.
No, I'd totally play a game that looked like this all the way through. I love it. It's got so much. It's just got so much. I feel like it's efficient. The stuff that's 3D that needs to be 3D is, and the other stuff they give a lot of room for the art to breathe. 'Cause it's all 2D stuff.
It also like is less work making a single side of a 2D image rather than a 3D model for these characters. So it allows you to make more of them, I think, and you can tell there's a ton of different characters here. There's a lot of personality and distinction between them. And they can probably crank them out really fast.
Yeah, probably. Because a lot of the way they're animated too is Like some of them have moving parts, but obviously, but also they do like use a lot of squash and stretch where they're not actually like animating different frames. Like they're not drawing different frames, but they're just like moving pieces. So like they're kind of like paper dolls,
Yeah.
and they're just using like squashing and stretching. You can kind of see.
Yeah, that's clever.
Yep. Anyhow, that's the end of that video. That's my footage. Thank you, gentlemen, for discussing this topic with me.
Oh yeah, thanks for that. That was good.
This is good. I like this.